morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Eric. How are you this morning?
There. Is that better?
How you doing this morning, Mr. Sandine?
I'm all right. Can you hear me?
Gotcha. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bet.
Well, and good morning, and thank you for applying for the Historic Preservation Board. As you well know, we have one opening, and this position fills an expired term that ended April 2020. So the new expiration will be April 2023. So we're going to try to lock you in for quite a few years. Eric, does that cause you any grief?
It doesn't cause me any grief. I gotta let you know, I applied for a Fulbright, and those are competitive, and it should be decided within the next month. And so I ought to know definitively whether I'll be here for the spring of 2022. That's next year, by, I'd say, the middle of March.
Okay, well, good luck, and
nice.
Yay.
Hey, yeah, I had a Fulbright to the Netherlands back in 2014 while I was on the Joint Powers Board for the Civic Center, and we kind of worked around that.
Yeah.
I don't know what this board is like, but I didn't think it was prohibitive.
Yeah. Well, I've only been to one meeting because I just joined that board, and they're pretty amazing. Boy, there's a lot of passionate people on that board, a lot of people with backgrounds that are really impressive. I felt like I probably ought to go take some night courses to be part of the board because I was not.
There are worse things in this world. Whoa, where is everybody? There you are.
Yeah, awesome.
That helps. That way I can have an idea of who's talking or who's there. Yeah.
Okay, could you just give us a little bit of your reasons? We read your application for wanting to join it, and then we'll have a few questions, and then we'll let you off to your morning. Thank you again.
Well, I've been around for quite a while. We moved to Laramie in 1982, and I spent most of my career at the University of Wyoming. And I've had an interest in historic preservation all the while. I directed the American Studies program, and I started an historic preservation track through that program about 25 years ago. And so over the years, even though I wasn't directly involved in many of these projects, it was really interesting to see the kinds of historic preservation work that our program was doing. I should say too that we're in the Cooper House, so just getting in there and making sure that the Cooper House did not turn into a parking lot was probably the most direct exposure that I've had to historic preservation, at least in Laramie. I don't know, we have a unique town, and I'd like to keep it that way. I was involved in Main Street for a few years, sort of at the formative stage of this version of Main Street, and I really think that our downtown is a real asset to the community in a lot of different ways, and it's been heartening to see it develop over the years. I've taken people on tours around Albany County and showed prospective professors and folks like that. I've tried to ground them in where they are. There are a lot of historic ranches out there, not to mention irrigation systems and cockamamie schemes that went wrong and all that. They give you an idea of what Wyoming is like. I always think it's a good idea to get to know your place, or at least reconcile yourself to your place. If you're from a place where it's green instead of brown, in a city instead of the country, you better like it, because if you go to war with it, it's going to win every time. And I think a lot of people, when they see how fascinating this area is with the railroad and all the other stuff, I think it really helps to put this place in context.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Richardson or Commissioner Ibarra. Any questions?
All I'll say is, hi, Eric.
Hey, Heber.
Eric and I we know each other well enough that I know that he's eminently qualified for this position. So,
yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Hi, Eric. It's Sue.
Hi, Sue. I see you over there.
Yeah. Doing any skiing up by the cabins anymore?
Oh, man. I miss that so much. Those cabins, the first several years that we rented those were rented for $300 for the season. And by the time we left, they were like $300 a night or something like that. It was so incredibly expensive. I haven't been up there much at all, but I know you're an avid skier.
Yeah. Well,
I imagine you've been out there.
That year we lived there from November to May for $300. So,
A phenomenal deal. I love that place.
yeah. Eric, I do have a question. Aside from saving the Cooper Mansion, what were some of the other projects that your program did?
Oh, well, we did a district nomination for what amounts to the tree area. So that's now on the National Register. I think it might be called University of Wyoming area or something like that. That was a district nomination that involved a lot of surveying and public meetings and drawing borders and boundaries and things like that, and also dealing with the university, which had a couple of properties inside the boundary, which was not known to the people who were doing the nomination, and they wanted to be a part of this. So that was interesting. We were, I think, pretty centrally involved in saving the Lincoln School and making it into the Lincoln Community Center. We helped them with their nomination. We helped them with the appraisal of the roof. We helped them get historic architects over there. And springing from that, we made a nomination for about half of the west side. And I think it got all the way through to the National Register, and that actually has, both of those projects have real consequences. I think the Lincoln Community Center is a real necessity on that side of town. And it probably needs more development, but it certainly is in better shape than it was when we first went in there with space heaters and flashlights. And the other thing is that the district nomination for the west side caused YDOT to reroute Harney Street, the one that has the bypass pass on it. That now goes around the west side rather than through the middle of the west side. And every time I drive that, I think about what the power of an historic preservation program can be to motivate not just students, but the people on the west side. They formed a group. They went to city council. They lobbied YDOT. I mean, it was a real success story, as far as I could see, about how communities create value and then defend that value. I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
What else? In town, I'm not exactly sure. We fought the long fight with the university, kind of successfully in the end, but it took 20 years to get them to think of the campus as an historic district. Universities nationwide are not happy about historic preservation because they think it inhibits their ability to develop. And so we would have conversations with the university architect and with the university real estate office, not to mention the president and vice presidents and such, which was a real education for me, and I think sort of for them too, because their attitude changed. It took a while. but I think that they now see at least some of the potential for the university as marketing the university as something historic rather than knocking stuff over.
Well done on all those. And I
Well, we
wish
try.
I wish you all the luck with your Fulbright application.
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying not to think about it too much. I don't want to jinx it.
Well, Eric, I would echo Commissioner Arbera's comments. Thanks for all that stuff. Really do appreciate it. What I've learned on my first meeting is they have a historic preservation plan. They won a grant for that. They have now a consultant who, for the first time I've ever heard in statements saying we're going to deliver a kick butt plan for historic preservation, which I thought was awesome. And so what will happen is there's one opening. You're the one interviewed today, so you can do the math. We'll send a notice, a letter, and then somebody from the clerk's office will probably call you later today. As we go through the meeting, we'll approve a member for the Historic Preservation Board. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time this morning.
Sure.
And all the work in Laramie, and thanks for being willing to volunteer with us again.
You bet.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Hey.
Bye-bye.
Commissioner, that's Liberia.
It's Iberia.
Like the peninsula.
Yeah.
Did you see those
Is it
spellings?
ERIA or is it ARRIA?
Read the plaque.
I'm gonna have fun with this one for quite some time.
Like the peninsula.
Right. There, you ought to see the people on this reservation board. There's archaeologists and anthropologists, and now
Wow.
Eric, I'm not sure what his background is, American studies, but I'm sure he's a doctorate of something.
And
And
I'm sure there's restoration architects and
yeah, it's just, and then everybody seems to be about 20 years younger than I am, with the exception of Eric. And I was like, God, how'd you guys all get so educated right so quickly? So,
a little intimidating, huh?
yeah, I'll have
There's
much to
some
say.
good fun to be had there, but the issue is money
Right.
and sort of how to I mean, so we have a historic preservation board, but we don't have, you know, there's no zoning process. I don't really think inside the city, and certainly not in the county, to apply historic preservation from a regulatory perspective. So it's pretty much a grant-funded endeavor. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It could beat down somebody who's passionate, because you get smart people who can recognize things that belong as being protected in their current state or preserved kind of that way, and it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I went to Lexington, Kentucky a few years ago. And they had in the part of the town, they had I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like Fraternity Row here, but it was for our officers, these old brick homes. And they fell into disrepair. Well, they had now, so it had become a really cool place to be. And so they were spending money, private money, to update these places.
Sure.
And there was a craftsman that his whole job was to match the crown molding and the railings of all the buildings indoors. And that's what he did. He was at 10 years and still doing it. And that's because they couldn't find it anywhere else. And it's just really cool what this was going to end up being. So
And they were
going to use
probably
it for?
made from local hardwoods. And
yeah,
What were they going to use it for? It wasn't
just for housing. They were just
But
people
for
that
anyone, or
well, it was actually gentrified. So there was a bunch of rich picture people going in these brick things and gutting them, and then replacing them based on kind of the historical standard. They had gone back to the Confederate War and stuff.
So these were Civil War type brick.
Yeah.
Wow.
What was really cool is they had, the insulation was newspapers. And so some of the newspapers were Civil War era newspapers. They were yellow, but you could still read some of them, I guess.
Well,
So-
right. You couldn't make the project go because you'd be sitting on a bucket reading.
Right. Right.
And it would hurt you to throw it away.
Yeah. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Albany County Commissioners February 16th, 2021 meeting. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if I could, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Commissioner Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner Iberia.
Not quite here.
Commissioner Gosar is also here.
Yeah, who is that anyway?
Public hearings. We don't have any public hearings today, so we'll move right past number 3. Number 4, are there any comments from the public? And we'll take those online too. If you are making a public comment, if you just state your name and then 3 or 4 minutes would be great. And we'll go from there. I see Guy Cameron raised his hand. Mr. Cameron, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Gosar. Can you hear me okay, members of the commission?
Yep, got you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, just for purposes of direction from the commission today, as you proceed through your agenda, Mr. Chairman, I'm here to comment today on item number 22. And I just inquire, would you prefer my comments now or when we get to item 22?
Well, I guess it depends on your day. If you want to do them now, then maybe you can go to your morning, but if not, then you can join us on number 22. It's up to you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I will proceed, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity to the commission. The commission allowed during your work session to provide some informational background regarding a discussion that has now been formulated into a resolution. So I want to just say thank you for that opportunity during your work session and then for the opportunity today. My name is Guy Cameron, Mr. Chairman and members of the Albany County Commission. I'm Director of Compliance for Cowboy Skill Games and represent Pace-O-Matic in the state of Wyoming. I'd like to provide a formal comment to the proposed resolution 2021-008. And before I begin, Mr. Chairman, I believe there's a white paper that has been provided, I hope overnight or this morning to the commission regarding the background to the discussion today, and it distinguishes the business models for discussion today. So I hope you have received that.
Yeah, we have, if that's the one from Mickey Schober.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes, we have. Thank you. At least I have.
Okay. So today, the Board of County Commissioners for Albany County are contemplating really 2 requests by the applicant, and that's framed in the resolution. And the first request, Mr. Chairman, is a relocation request for the applicant from a previous location there in Laramie to a new location in Laramie. I think this is a fitting request. You know up front as a Board of County Commissioners what the location is. And you can deliberate on the fit and the right fit for your community. This location, as I understand, would be a destination location for this particular business model. The second request is something different. It's a request to approve all existing bars in Albany County, whether they be there in the city limits or they be in the most rural parts of Albany County, to be approved for pari-mutuel games. In other words, a blanket authorization for all existing bars in Albany County. Mr. Chairman, a blanket resolution, I believe, is improper. And for these reasons, the Wyoming Gaming Commission rules, they require a board of county commissioners to consider each potential satellite location individually. And you're going to do that with the request from a previous location to a new location. And I think that is fitting. That is an individual request so that you can make the most informed decision and what's best for your constituencies and the right fit, and be able to manage what type of game you want in Albany County. So if you look at the current resolution, this carte blanche resolution, it has the potential to significantly change the marketplace as you know it in Albany County, with the onset of a mini casino style atmosphere. And I think that's worth contemplating what you want the marketplace to look like, because it will certainly have the potential to change from what that size, shape, and form is today in individual existing bars in Albany County. From a legal perspective, our attorneys at Cowboy Skill Games have reviewed the Wyoming statutes and also the rules regarding pari-mutuel operations in Wyoming. And I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. A blanket resolution for existing bars is improper as it relates to the statutes and to the rules for pari-mutuel operations in Wyoming. The background, obviously, for the statutes, when a pari-mutuel bet occurs, it's through an electronic transmission, and that's called simulcasting, and it's covered by the Wyoming statutes. The statutes also go further and require by the Wyoming Gaming Commission to promulgate rules for conducting simulcasting. And those rules are to protect the public interest. As you look to the Wyoming administrative rules for the Gaming Commission, and it's specifically Chapter 10, it covers simulcasting. And here's what I think is important information for the commission today. It requires each location by the Wyoming Gaming Commission first to have a license for simulcasting, and that has to be approved by the Wyoming County Commissioners. And each satellite location requires its own license where simulcasting is going to be conducted. One of the requirements to get a license is a feasibility study. And a feasibility study has about 9 different topics. But I just want to share just a couple of those with you, because I think it goes to the type of information that's important for the county commissioners to be able to have in your pocket as you consider an application. The feasibility study requires and describes the site, the construction layout, capacity, the number of terminals that will be in that location, surveillance and other security equipment. It also requires the level of attendance expected in the area from which such attendance will be drawn. and also the probable impact of the proposed operation on revenues to local government. So those are just a snippet, Mr. Chairman, of the types of information that are required in a feasibility study. And then after all that is done by the Wyoming Gaming Commission, in Chapter 10, it is finalized that in Section 3D, it states that final approval of a satellite location within each county shall come from you, the governing body of the county. And then such approval would be filed with the Wyoming Gaming Commission prior to ever conducting simulcasting in that county. The rules require all this information be provided to you, the county, to be able to make a fully informed decision regarding each potential location. That is why the rules contemplate that the county have final approval. And Mr. Chairman, that's your right as a governing body to have a solid foothold on local control, that you get to choose each location and what's right in the marketplace for Laramie and also Albany County that is most fitting in size, shape, and form. By authorizing a blanket resolution for existing bars prior to even knowing where this applicant intends to place these games, this board would be allowing the applicant to, number one, circumvent the rules and of the Wyoming Gaming Commission, but maybe more importantly, or just as important, it would deny you as a board of county commissioners, as well as your residents, the opportunity to voice your concerns regarding each location that would come before you. Simply stated, I think the cart is before the horse. And so, Mr. Chairman, for these reasons, we believe a blanket resolution is improper.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. I appreciate it. David, would you help me look for raised hands, please? Anybody else like to make a public comment? Terry Jones, good morning. How are you this morning, Terry?
Good morning. My name's Terry Jones. I'm at 3918 Chinook Drive. I would like to have it entered into the minutes that I'm present at this meeting today. Also, I want you to know that I'm very disappointed at the February 2nd, 2021 meeting that the commissioners Gosar and Ibarra denied Diane Packett's vacation request, going against precedents on vacations of this type, creating additional costs to both Diane and Albany County. I really want to say shame on you. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for that, but thanks for joining us, Terry. Peggy Trent, go ahead, please.
I have something for public comments that I wanted to bring to the commissioner's attention. As many of you know, in my role, I also serve as the DA. And in the DA role, we've had an increase, unfortunately, in prosecution of protection orders and stalking orders. And what that has brought about is an increase in expenses. In the state of Wyoming, there's only 2 counties that are currently being charged by the circuit court for protection orders, copies of them to prosecute, as well as recordings of those proceedings, Albany County and Teton County. No other county in the state of Wyoming is being charged right now but our county. We have jury trials coming up, and we've been told that we have to put forward a voucher. We do not accept credit cards up in our circuit court, and that we have to put through vouchers in order to be paid. We have a trial coming up, for instance, March 2nd, and we have to process, today I learned, because of a motion a defense attorney filed on Friday, to get a check cut in order to do it, or I have to pay it out of my personal pocket. And this is something we do regularly and well, I believe, in Albany County in enforcing the civil protection orders to protect the citizens in our county. And I wanted you to be made aware of it because it has been now several weeks I have been going back and forth with our circuit court as well with the Wyoming Supreme Court, advising me that we must pay for it and that we are in a situation right now, we can't go forward unless I have petty cash, which we all know petty cash is not something to have lying around in the county. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention so that everybody is aware that we are experiencing these issues in our courthouse right now. And as we move forward, I will keep you apprised, but I think it's time to get it out to the public, to let the public know of the challenges we're having in Albany County and Teton County out of the whole state of Wyoming. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trent. Anybody else for public comment this morning? Do you see anybody, David? Okay. Last call for public comment this morning. Okay. I'll take a motion to close public comment.
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Disclosures, number 5. Commissioner Richardson, any disclosures?
I have none.
Commissioner Rivera, any disclosures?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing for me, thank you. Number 6, considerations of changes to the agenda. I have a couple. So I would like to put on 9A, discussion with Laura McDermott from Laramie Public Arts Coalition. And then on 27A, I'd like to enter a letter from Ryan Kaiser, Albany County Public Health's nurse manager. Does anybody else have changes to the agenda?
None.
I have none.
I take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 8. Introduce Amanda Marney, Associate Director of UW Extension, Mary Louise Wood. You're with us this morning, and Amanda, good morning. Thank you, guys.
Commissioner Gosar. We just want to take an opportunity, one, to introduce the UW Extension Office to Commissioner Rivera. Today we have with us Brian Sabady, who is our Ag and Hort educator.
Welcome.
Jess Dooley, who's our Sensible Nutrition educator. And then I'm Mary Louise Wood, the 4-H educator, but we wanted to introduce our supervisor. This is Associate Director, Dr. Amanda Marney. And we were using this opportunity to give you some highlights of our office, which I sent to you, Jackie. And I don't know if Dr. Marney has anything.
Dr. Marney, if you have any comments, please.
Well,
Good
I just
morning.
wanted to use this opportunity to, I would say put a face to a name, but you don't really get to see on my face. But I am here as a resource on the east side of the state, and we're moving within Extension to have more of a county-focused model. And so I'm hoping to drop by from time to time when we have things to share with you. And just wanted you to get to know me. And I'll leave my card in case you need to get a hold of me.
Dr. Marney, thanks for being with us. Are you from Wyoming originally, or do you come from some other parts?
No, I've been here for a little over a year. I moved here from K-State.
All right. Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
You've got a great crew you're working with.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so we'll look forward to your presentations in the future and come anytime.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Item number 9, present the board with the 2020 Planning Project of the Year Award for Pilot Hill. Sarah Brown Matthews, Executive Director of Pilot Hill, and Angela Parker, Wyoming Planning Association Board President. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioners, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name's Angela Parker. I'm the president of the Wyoming Planning Association, and we're also known as WyoPass more commonly. And our organization was created in 1971 as an organization for planners who are involved in activities that affect the economic, physical, and social well-being of Wyoming residents. Organized under Wyoming state statutes as a nonprofit corporation, and we have 5 directors that are elected by our general membership. And the goals of the Wyoming Planning Association are to promote communication and cooperation among professionals, planning commission members, and others that are involved in planning activities, and to provide information to the public on planning issues, to advocate planning programs that preserve the quality of life here in Wyoming, to provide a forum for discussion of issues that are of common concern for planners, and to provide opportunities for continuing education for planning practitioners, which includes planning commissioners, and also to maintain and promote standards of professionalism among Wyoming planners. We also have an awards program, and it's an annual program, and we normally present our awards at our fall conference. And in 2020, we were unable to hold that fall conference, so we have been working to present these awards virtually. And the awards include the Planning Project of the Year, Planner of the Year, Planning Commission of the Year, and New Planner of the Year. And we're excited to be here today to present our Planning Project of the Year, and that is going to the Pilot Hill Project. The IT department has a link to a video which we can play here in a minute. And then Sarah Brown Matthews will speak afterwards. And I apologize that I can't stay longer, but I do have another meeting that I need to attend. But I appreciate the opportunity to present this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. And do you want to play that? Would you like us to play that video right now?
Yes, please.
All right. IT is on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Pilot Hill Land Use Plan was developed to guide the future use and management of the 7,000 acres of open space on Pilot Hill. First and foremost, the plan seeks to document the design and land use vision for Pilot Hill. It also documents planning constraints, management considerations, and shows how the plan will protect the aquifer and wildlife habitat. This plan includes a trail design concept, phasing approach, management vision, and strategies to facilitate implementation. The plan, which was based on over 40 years of planning and research done by many entities, including the City of Laramie, Albany County, and the State of Wyoming, has led to the culmination of this plan. However, the project did not stop at the planning phase. Unlike some ambitious projects that lay the groundwork for a plan, an opportunity to actually acquire the property is being planned and presented to the community. Through actions at the local and state level, the over 7,000 acres is obtained for recreation and protection of community water source. The acreage obtained now provides the Laramie community about 9 square miles of open space and over 65,000 acres of national forest in the Laramie Range. The out-the-door access to wildland on Pilot Hill improves quality of life and bolsters economic growth in southeastern Wyoming. Pilot Hill preserves a unique landscape as open space for recreation, education, and wildlife habitat, and permanently protects the key portion of critical aquifer resource.
People have been trained and really generous and collaborative. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's so hard to get people to work together and things. Somehow this project has gone through that. It really is, I think, thoughtfully designed in terms of making sure that we are connecting the city plan for expansion of the city trail system. We really feel like we're hopeful that people will come to Laramie, do some outdoor activities on Pilot Hill, follow those trails down to the Laramie River, and join our the river trail, being those respectful of the neighbors, all know that those properties is something that we work really hard on. We have lots of different meetings in literally people's homes and invite all the neighbors. It's a call for all of us that live here in Laramie and love Laramie. So we're trying not to be naive about that, and we're trying not to be NIMBY about it. Really wanting to be realistic about the fact that, you know, we love this, and especially if other people love it too. I think the realistic things that we thoughtfully think about how we create a way to fund it so that it is world class, and it is well taken care of, and we're able to continue to do research on our impact on the ecosystem of the water quality and wildlife habitat.
Awesome. Sarah, I think you're up. Congratulations to you and the board of directors and everybody involved with that award. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Commissioner Gosar. I have to say this award could not be possible without the tremendous support and, quite honestly, the courage of the Albany County Commissioners in stepping forward when the property was available for purchase for the community and putting their dollars on the table, more or less, the initial $100 that needed to be secured to the seller so that we could work on this project collaboratively as a community. I have the award here with me that I'm trying to show you on my camera. I hope you can see it. In addition to Albany County, SE Group needs to be recognized as our planning professionals who work with us. City of Laramie, the University of Wyoming, Laramie Rivers Conservation District, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the U.S. Forest Service, Medicine Bow National Forest Division, Wyoming Game and Fish Department, and Wyoming State Parks and Historic Sites, among the many others that stepped forward to make this dream a reality. We are excited about the opportunity that this brings to Albany County, not only for protection of our aquifer and our beloved wild spaces and wildlife habitat, but also for what we hope will become a world-class area to come and enjoy recreation on the Northern Recreation Corridor portion of the property, and for wildlife advocates to enjoy the pristine habitat to the south. I thank the commissioners, Sue Ibarra, Commissioner Ibarra, who is currently serving on the Pilot Hill board as a liaison, and also former Commissioner Terry Jones, who has been a key advocate in this process throughout the years, over 3 years of working on getting this secured. So I won't take any more of your time, but please know that we share this recognition and this plaque broadly because it truly was a community collaborative effort that brought this to fruition and has brought this award to our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. Commissioners, any?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, to the community for coming together around that really wonderful project. Mr. Richardson.
Mr. Chairman, Sarah, I have a question for you. Have you documented how many hours you volunteered on this project?
Heber, I have not volunteered nearly as many hours as the majority of the committee has. I truly have to throw the credit in a different direction. I am honored to be a part of this project, but the true impetus and the volunteer hours put in by thousands of people across the community and over 100 community committee members is what really made the project possible, including you, Heber. So thank you very much.
I did far less than you. But I don't know, it's interesting to be offered $10.5 million piece of land for $100 down, and then very flexible closing schedule. It is pretty remarkable, you know, an undefined date to close. So what's interesting, and I can't believe how many people worked together on the Pilot Hill project and how much in-kind time and I guess technical expertise was donated. Things like web design and graphic design and marketing and all these things. And notably, this commission has always had a hard time balancing the public, I guess the public good as far as aquifer protection goes and protecting that space with private property rights. And when it became public, those conflicts go away because now it's a public resource and can be managed as such without getting in conflict with private property rights and development rights. So I actually hope we can do it again. Also, a lot of times Warren Livestock, Doug Samuelson doesn't get enough credit. He basically held that land as a rancher. He held that land in conservation until somebody could figure out how to make it public, and we did. And if he had not done that, there would have been a lot more pressure on that land well before we were ready to do something with it. And truthfully, we weren't ready for this. I just didn't know how to say no. When the vote came up, the worst thing that could happen is we fail. So like some people were intimidated by the size of the project. And if you were to talk to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or, you know, nonprofits that do these kind of land transactions, this one was done remarkably quickly for its size and scope. It's almost unheard of. And I think that means that the list of conflicts was small compared to the list of benefits. So I guess, Sarah, you get to represent all of us, even the state land board and the people who helped at the state. You get to be the face for all of us who tried really hard and on this project and got it done.
Thank you, Sarah. Excuse me, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your hard work, and what a great award and a great project. Have a great rest of your day. All right, awesome. Moving to 9A, presentation from Laura McDermott, the Laramie Public Arts Coalition Executive Director. Laura, are you with us?
Hi, I'm here. Hello, commissioners. Thanks for having me.
Morning, you're going to give us an update on this beautiful front space, I've heard.
Yes, that's correct. So I just wanted to give you all an update on the call for art for the courthouse. So we released the request for qualifications on January 21st, and we are approaching our deadline, which is March 1st. We've already received 28 applications, which is actually a lot before the deadline. Usually everything comes in right at the end. So we're going to have a lot of really wonderful artists from around the country and right here in Wyoming to choose from. So that's very exciting. We are planning to hold a selection panel the week of March 23rd. And the selection panel, I will tell you who's on that. Jim Nadler, who's a local artist. Kayla Clark, who is also a local artist and a lecturer at the University of Wyoming. Rin Kaskow, who's the director for the Alliance for Historic Wyoming. Tracy Fletcher, who's the county treasurer, Jackie Gonzalez, the county clerk, and Gina Minari from county real estate. So yeah, we have a lot of exciting things coming up, coming down the line. So I wanted to just let you all know that that is happening and it is moving forward and will be very exciting. So the call also indicates that the artwork should be installed by next March, so March of 2022. So there will be some downtime between now and when the artwork will actually be installed. So I thought while I was here too, I might take the temperature from the commissioners on if you'd like something temporary there. We have been approached by a couple people with some potential, including the Laramie High School, who does a mural project related to the aquifer and Pilot Hill, actually, called Rainbow Pathways. So if that's something that the commission would be interested in, we might be able to bring something like that in temporarily while we have the downtime. So I just wanted to put that out into space.
Thank you, Laura. Commissioner Richardson, Commissioner Ibarra, any questions for Laura? Thoughts?
Well, it's a beautiful entrance, and it seems a little stark right now. There's, all these white walls and no color in there. And also, I'd love to entertain a temporary thing till the permanent art pieces in place.
I agree with that. And if LPAC would be willing to help us with that, I mean, I suppose that's a discussion for a future meeting, but it could be good to coordinate something to make that space nice and for people to look at that is specifically Albany County oriented and enjoyable. So, yeah.
Well, Laura, it looks like you have 3 supporters of that, and we will put it on our next our first March meeting to see if we can make that official and tell the Laramie High and everybody else who worked on some of those projects. I think I've seen them. They're super cool. They'll be great in there. And more art's always better than less art in my world. So, yay, thank you for thinking about that, and thank them for thinking about letting us borrow it for a piece.
Yeah, that sounds great. Would it be helpful then for that first March meeting if maybe myself and the project lead for the high school come and just show you what the work is?
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be great. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And
absolutely.
A really exciting 28 people or artists already with still, almost 2 weeks to go. We should have some great art in this really nice spot. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be awesome. So thank you all for including it in your plans.
Yeah. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you all.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I don't know how, if we were to sort of make an appeal for temporary art, I don't know how long. I mean, so the high school project is cool and could be one of the, I guess, applicants. Would it be appropriate to have the selection committee select the temporary art or help us sort through the temporary art on the front end, in addition to their job doing the permanent or the more permanent art?
Laura, I'm going to direct that question to you. Did you hear that? If we have more people wanting to put temporary art, then maybe we have wall space. That would be a great problem to have. But what would you think would be the way to go about doing that?
I think that's a really great question. And I think, it would be really lovely if that was a more open request to the community. If other people do have artwork that they'd want to share, that would be appropriate for the space. I off the top of my head, I mean, I don't know that the selection committee for the more permanent work is going to have a really full plate. Especially, we're probably going to get a lot of applications. We could, I mean, I would be happy to sort of spearhead another, maybe even a smaller committee if there's somebody on the commission that wants to be on it, and maybe another person from the courthouse that we could look at requests as they come in from people that would want to have work in the courthouse temporarily, and we could come up with a more formal process for that to happen. But I think I need to take a little bit of time with that and maybe come up with sort of a smooth way for that to happen, and that allows us to look at work and accept work in a way that is equitable and fair for everybody. So I'm happy to take a look at that and come up with something for you all that would be appropriate. But off the top of my head right now, I'm a little stuck. Tuesday morning brain. I'm like,
That's quite all right. There'll be a topic for the first meeting in March with you, just so you
okay.
have it up. So you got a little time.
That's perfect. Yeah, I'm happy to, I'll brainstorm some options for us, and we can figure out what works best.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And Laura, maybe, we have a meeting coming up at the end of the week. That's something that we can discuss. Since I'm the liaison, I'd be happy to work on this smaller group that you mentioned, if that's the way we decide to go. So that might be something we can discuss at the LPAC meeting on Friday.
That sounds great. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your work and LPAC's work on making this community that much cooler. So I really appreciate it. I look forward to more art in this front space and more art everywhere. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, item number 10, present for approval, request for proposal for 219 Avenue C building demolition and direct the county clerk to advertise. Mr. Gorman, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It is a fantastic day today. So just a little bit of background on this project. Because it's been around so long, maybe people don't remember what it is. But back in about 2016, our illustrious county attorney helped get this project started. Was made aware of a dilapidated, dangerous situation in Rock River. And then in about 2018, a grant was applied for, and I think I have the dates right, but in about 2019, we did get the CDBG funds approved. And so after that, then we needed to do an environmental assessment of the site. We knew it was hazardous, or at least it looked hazardous, but we needed some official experts to go in there and look at it. And so we ended up hiring Tri-Hydro of Laramie to do that for us. And they've evaluated the site and actually have found very little contaminated materials. So essentially it's going to be pretty much a straightforward demolition after all the fuss that we made. They also were prepared the RFP for the cleanup for us, and that's what I'm presenting today. So that brings us up to date. The schedule for the bidding is we'll advertise this Saturday on the 20th and the 27th. We'll have a pre-bid meeting 1st of March and open bids at 3 p.m. on March 8th. The current RFP says that the completion date is May 31st of this year. I would just like to, that was based on our original time frame that we had with the grant, but we have requested, and I believe we have approved an extension through the end of the year. So I would like, if it's okay with you guys, to maybe add to your motion today to extend the completion date to July 31st, just to give the contractor a little more flexibility when they do the work. I think that'll help our bids as far as prices go. So the estimated cost is between $85,000 and $100,000 to do this work. The grant and the budget is $257,000, of which about $50,000 has been allocated already for the engineering and some of the upfront costs of that. So theoretically, we should have approximately $200,000 left to do the project. Now, after they do the demo and clear off the site, they still will have to install a couple of monitoring wells, because there really was no place they could do that at this time, because the building essentially occupies the whole site. That will be placed after the building is removed. And they'll monitor those for a short period of time. So there will be some extended costs maybe over the next 6 months. But I would imagine that would be a pretty short thing, as long as we don't find any contamination in the groundwater. So that's really all I have to present this morning. So I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Mr. Richardson, any questions?
Yes. I'm curious if monitor wells have to be done, or when that site is cleaned off, if somebody can dig a few shallow holes or something and see. I mean, because, if there's hydrocarbon contamination or what, you can see that pretty quickly, because it goes surface down. You know what I mean?
Right. And currently, we have no evidence of any hydrocarbon contamination.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So the only issue is it could be coming from somewhere else, but that's, I guess, what they wanted to know. But we certainly could do it, at least in my mind, and I'm no expert in this particular area, but with some kind of a hole that we dug, as long as we can get down to the groundwater, I don't think that would be an issue. I think it's fairly shallow through there, so that's certainly a possibility, at least in my mind.
Do a quick cross section and see what happens.
Right. And I guess maybe monitoring well is the wrong term. Maybe it's just take a sample, a water sample, and then close it up right away.
Sure.
Commissioner Rivera?
I have no question.
County Attorney Trent, is it all right if we extend the contract to July 31 of 2021? Is that going to cause you guys any trouble in the contract, from the contractual end?
No, but we would need to amend the contract. So if you make a motion and direct the county attorney's office to make the appropriate amendment, if it's not within there right now, it's fine.
Okay, awesome. All right.
So are we saying through June, or are we saying through July?
July 31st.
Gotcha.
The grant doesn't close. When does the grant? Okay, then we're fine.
Okay.
Super. Well, I entertain a motion, commissioners.
I move to approve the request for proposal for 219 Avenue C building demolition, and direct the county clerk to advertise, as well as note the July 31st extension, July 31st, 2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Bill. And you're here again. Item number 11, present for approval, change order request and amendment number 1 to contract between Albany County, Wyoming and Long Building Technologies in the amount of $30,778. Bill.
Mr. Chairman, commissioners. So as you're aware, we have a project to redo all access control in the courthouse and 7 other buildings in the county. And we had bids back in November. Since that time, it has come to my attention that the contractor is requesting additional funds, and that 30,778 basically breaks down like this. We added some doors after the bid was presented that were missed during the preparation of plans. That's probably about 6,500 of that. Since that time, the contractor has done a detailed inspection of the site, and that has turned up a few other pieces of hardware that need to be added, and then some procedures that weren't really spelled out or clear. That's about 2,500 to 3,000. The big item though is for 22,000, and essentially that amounts to a misinterpretation of the plans. And I would say that normally the first two items are obviously changes. They're legitimate reasons for doing a change order. The third one, the misinterpretation, is unusual. Our bid documents are quite clear to say that the contractor is responsible for finding out everything he needs to make a legitimate bid. Now, having said that, I will say this, that the pre-bid inspection for the contractors was done during the lockdown. We're in November, end of October, when everything was very difficult to access. We had a large number of contractors attend, and so we ended up having to break up into small groups in order to keep our social distance and all that business and observe COVID protocols. So I can't really be sure that everybody got the same information. And that's really the key to a fair bidding process, is making sure that everybody has the same information. So I would say that based on that, I think it would be a fair thing to do to pay this additional fee request. We have done, myself and the consultant have done a little checking, and everybody who bid on this project basically had to use the same supplier. And so we talked to the supplier, and they essentially confirmed that Long Building Technologies requested a quote for fewer number of particular item, that if you calculate the cost of that item plus the labor would essentially make up that $22,000. So I feel confident that we're not being boondoggled. And the other reason I guess I can say that is I think that we've had a good relationship in recent years with Long, the company. They are doing our HVAC maintenance. They have an annual or multi-year contract. So I think it would be kind of against their best interest to stick it to us. So for that reason, I would say that in this case, I would go ahead and recommend, even though you don't have to do it, certainly, to go ahead and approve the change order as they requested.
Thank you, Bill. Commissioners, questions? So Bill, I asked you this in the pre-agenda meeting, but I just want to make sure that it's there. With this 30,000, Long would still be competitive with the other bids and maybe towards the lower end of all the bids that were received for this project?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. We received two bids, and I didn't bring the other one with me, but it was approximately 267,000. The Long's bid was 197,000. So it's still considerably under the second bid.
Thank you, Bill. Commissioners, I'd entertain a motion. Item 11.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the change order request and amendment number 1 to the contract between Albany County, Wyoming, and Long Building Technologies in the amount of $30,778.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12. Present for approval, request for proposal for replacement of the chiller at the courthouse and direct the county clerk to advertise. Bill, you're with us again. Yay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, yes, this is for the replacement of the dilapidated chiller. The schedule for the project is I should receive the plans and specifications, which are not included in your packet, either tomorrow or certainly before Friday is the deadline that the engineer has said he will meet. And we will begin advertising the project on Saturday the 20th, pre-bid meeting on the 2nd of March, open bids at 3:30 p.m. on the 8th of March. The scope of work essentially is remove and replace the chiller, piping, and heat exchanger. The estimated cost of this project is between $130,000 and $150,000. Completion date is set for the 15th of May. So it's going to be pretty tight. But that's probably about when we're going to need cool air like we can't get from the free cooler, so-called free cooler. So the unit that was installed fairly recently as part of the North Entry expansion takes advantage of the cool air in the winter and uses that to provide chilled water for courthouse cooling. But after the temperature gets above 50 degrees, then that becomes less efficient, and then we need to have mechanical means for cooling. So hopefully it'll stay, we'll have a cool May.
So, Commissioners, any questions?
I only have a comment, and that is I can't figure out in the design of energy efficiency, because everybody tries to do that these days. You can't open a window in this building, and you have to make chilled glycol or chilled water all winter long. I don't know how we can be energy efficient that way.
I agree with you. It's maddening that, in this day and age, HVAC engineers haven't come up with a way that we could, open our windows and still have control over the building. But I don't know much about it either.
Well, you could run a little pump pumping glycol through a heat exchanger with a fan, like as a cooler. You don't actually have to run a compressor.
Right. Most of the time.
You know what I'm saying? It's cold enough outside. You can make chilled water without compressing refrigerant to do it. It's the heat pump concept. I find it massively frustrating, actually. I don't get it.
Mr. Chair.
Bill, in the replacement of the chiller, can we expect any mishap or what happened earlier this year when we were all freezing in the courthouse in the exchange of the chiller and all? Will there be anything like that you foresee?
Well, there will be some downtime probably where both units are not functioning. And so at that time of year, it's probably going to be a little warm, actually, rather than too cold.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I don't think it'll be a long period of time, maybe a day or so.
Okay. Thank you.
The nice thing about, when things break randomly, you don't have any control over when that happens. The nice thing about this construction project is we can have them schedule the transfer over a weekend or something.
Right, it's planned.
Planned outage.
Thank you.
Bill, the consulting, will that come out of this 130 to 150,000? Is that
is not
included?
included. This is only for the mechanical equipment in the contract.
Okay.
I hired the mechanical as a subcontractor to me as a sub-consultant, and it's going to be between $8,000 and $10,000.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know which funds that we can use that under, or is it going to come out of the commission budget? Yeah.
I do not.
Or
I think it
building.
was going to be courthouse maintenance. Is that Jackie? Did that sound?
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Bill. I'd entertain a motion on item number 12.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request for proposal for replacement of the chiller at the courthouse and direct the county clerk to advertise.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13, present for approval, addition to policy manual to include an information and technology phishing awareness and security training policy. Christina, are you on? There she is. Christina, we can't hear you if you're trying to talk.
I'm here.
Awesome. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, and you?
Good, thanks. So in front of you, you have a policy with IT. This is the phishing policy that Adam and I have been working on. Essentially what it says is that, we would like to add this into our policy manual, and IT would like to conduct random phishing emails to make sure that all of our employees are safe and operating their computers like they should. And so this is a policy that talks about that procedure, how often that training will be required, if people are clicking on links, the remedial training that they'll have to attend to get them caught up to speed to kind of help us stop some of the viruses and hacks that we have that come onto the county. So this policy went out for review to all department heads and elected officials prior to being put on the agenda today. The only person that replied with comments was Sheriff Appelhans, which we've made those corrections. They were pretty minor. So we made those corrections, and then it was brought forward to you guys for approval. I'm not sure if Adam is in the room or if he has anything that he'd like to discuss regarding the policy, but essentially we'd just like to get it added in addition to our current operating policy manual.
Thank you, Christina. Adam's not here. Commissioners, any questions? Christina, I just had one question. Under Appendix A, schedule of failure penalties, there's all the way from first to sixth failure. Is that in a year? Is that in a career? What was the time limit on that 6 failures?
Yeah, so it's just, it's overall. So meaning, that somebody could have one infraction this year, and then, if it's 5 years later and they have another infraction, then we'll kind of follow that process. So the idea is that people just are not, how do I want to say this? The people are following the rules, and if there's an issue and they're not attending the trainings, or if they're opening up a lot of spam emails, that we have some sort of recourse with them. But essentially, the way that Adam and I discussed it is it would be on a per instance basis. So let's say, Adam rolls out a phishing campaign and we have somebody that clicks on an email, then they have their first infraction. And then if they don't continue on with the training, or if he, tests it again within a couple month period and they click on the email again, then they have their second infraction. I don't foresee that we'll have any issues with this, but Adam really wanted something in place in the event that we have I guess, kind of a rogue employee who is clicking on a bunch of stuff and downloading inappropriate things within the county, that we have some sort of recourse for action.
Thank you, Christina. Appreciate it. Commissioners, I'd entertain a motion for item 13.
I move that we approve the addition to policy manual to include an information and technology phishing awareness and security training policy.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Christina. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 14, present for approval, third amendment to the Albany County Detention Center Service Provider Agreement with the Care United Medical Center of Laramie, doing business as Stitches Acute Care Center, which extends the term of the agreement from January 21, 2021 to June 30, 2021. Sheriff Applehans, good morning.
Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. This is just an extension of the contract that we have. It's expired. And the process to do an RFP for a new contract for medical services with ACDC is going to take us a while because there's a lot of information that we have to put in there. So this is a temporary extension until, I believe it says July 2021, while we can get the RFP process completed and then send a new contract out for medical services for ACDC out to the community and then receive those. That's what that is today.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Sheriff Applehans? I'd entertain a motion for item 14.
I move that we approve item 14 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sheriff, before you go,
Yes.
Congratulations on that article with NBC. Really did thought it was well done, and thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate it as well.
Item 15, present for approval 2021 State Fire Assistant Grant Application in the amount not to exceed $5,000 for the purpose of equipment to purchase radios and accessories for Albany County volunteer firefighters. Chad and Bailey.
Chairman, Commissioners, this is the AFG grant for $5,000. We're going to utilize this grant to purchase a couple of portable radios. These are, I see that Blake has some information on some Motorola radios down the list here. These are different than that. These are radios that we use specifically for interagency communications during initial attack, specifically with our federal partners. Unfortunately, in our world, you got to have a lot of tools in your toolbox, and these are some of them that we'll use for that. The original estimate I got was in excess of this $5,000. The additional money will come from impact assistance.
Thank you, Chad. Questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, yeah. Chad, are these in addition to what you already have? Are they replacing something that is worn out, or is it just updating into the newest tech?
They are in addition to ones that we have, but some of the ones that we have will be phasing out. So currently they're in addition to, but as it moves forward, we'll be phasing out some of the other ones. So yes to both.
Any further questions?
No, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion for item 15, please.
I move that we approve item 15 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 16, discuss Wyoming Office of Homeland Security FEMA Public Assistance Grant application for Mullen Fire 2020 FMAG funds. Chad again. Good. Thank you.
Commissioners, last year we had a discussion about what our fire season might look like in 2020. And I indicated at that time that I felt like it was going to be expensive. And basing that primarily on our fuels conditions, as well as the new COVID world that we were living in. Frankly, I had no idea. We had 3 smaller incidents in the county that we were able to, we we kind of adjusted our suppression tactics on initial attack. And we talked about using an overly aggressive method to attack small fires to try to prevent them from becoming larger. We had a pretty good amount of success early in the season. We were able to contain 3 fires up north, the Clemens, the Cabin, and the Bradley fire, with using very aggressive means. That worked great until it didn't. So on Mullen, based on there's just too many stars aligned to try to be able to contain that monster. There's fuels and topography and weather and political boundaries and such forth that it was the big one. Mullen Fire, to the best of my knowledge, was the biggest fire in Wyoming state history. They talk a little bit about in these discussions, we talk about the Yellowstone fires, but that was really a collection of smaller fires. In terms of one gigantic contiguous fire, Mullen was the one. So, and it was expensive. That fire, all the numbers aren't in yet, but it's going to be probably just shy of $45 million for what the suppression efforts cost on that fire. We're kind of past that portion of it. It has been contained and controlled. However, we are moving into the recovery stage. Because of the scope of the fire and various aspects of it, we qualified for federal assistance through FEMA. We refer to those monies as FMAG, which is Fire Management Assistant Grant. It appears as if we're going to be able to secure in the neighborhood of $430,000 for cleaning up this mess, essentially. I'm going to introduce Travis Pardue. He's Assistant District Forester with Wyoming State Forestry, and he's going to help us with this project. Right now, we're at the stage where we have to submit to them what we believe our estimated costs are to try to secure those funds. It's a coordinated effort between emergency management, my office, state forestry, and grants. So we've been kind of having these discussions between us on how we're going to make this all come together. I guess the money portion of it is really why I'm here, because there is a matching component to this grant. It's we'll have to match it at 25%. Initially, what that's going to look like for us is it's going to be over a 2-year period. So during the budget session, I will be requesting on our behalf to go into Bailey's matching funds, $12,500 this year, and then $12,500 next year, for a total of $25,000 from this commission. The fire district, Albany County Fire District 1, we're going to do that same sort of budget, and they're in discussions about doing that. So that $50,000 will match the first $200,000 of that, and we believe that the final $200,000 will be able to be managed with in-kind matches. So I'm going to introduce Travis Pardue, and he can talk a little bit more about the scope. He's done some of the math on this.
Mr. Pardue, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Yeah, so a little bit more information, background on the Mullen Fire. It was, only about 3,100 acres of private land, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of 176,000 acres. But the difference is on this fire is that we had over 220 different landowners, and most of them had cabins, homes, outbuildings on their properties. In that fire, we lost about 32 different houses with 30 different outbuildings. So a lot of damage done. And if you break down the numbers even further, burn severity wise, that tells you how hot the fire burned, how much damage we've seen on the soil, the trees, the environment, ecosystems, everything. 50% of that was burn in moderate to high burn severity, which is going to cause a lot of damage if we don't do anything. So this grant that we're going for is to mitigate hazards, as in erosion control. We will see some, depending on moisture levels, rain, storms this summer, we'll see some erosion problems, some sediment fillery problems. Think full goodness that north side will go to Hardin County and not Albany County. But we will see a lot of problems on the Albany County side on private lands. Foxborough will probably hit the hardest community up there. They've seen about 26 structures, houses lost within that, and another 20 outbuildings within that community. And probably 90% loss in tree mortality within that. So this project, this thing will then, we will have landowners be able to reimburse for their money or to clear the property of hazard trees, damaged trees, anything burnt within that. And then we'll be also offering grass seed for these landowners, wattles, straw bales, anything to try to mitigate the soil runoff and the sediment runoff from these private properties. That will, go down to Forest Service landfill and lands, other private lands, and then eventually to the bigger watershed of the Platte River and the Laramie River as well. Other than that, we have some rough estimate numbers. Our biggest costs right now we're looking at is mitigating those burnt trees on private lands and then the recovery of grass seed. Unfortunately, we've had several large fires in 2020 in the Rocky Mountain region, and that has driven up prices for all of these things we would use to mitigate these hazards, like grass seed, straw bales, wattles, anything like that. But I would entertain any questions from you guys. Wyoming State Forestry is here to help with anything and everything we can. Unfortunately, that's not funding with our current budget cycles and everything else you guys are well aware of, but with our manpower and helping out you guys as well as our fire ward and emergency manager, we will hopefully come out better than we did in 2020.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and this, so one is a money question. Have we settled where we are going to get our match from? And another is, and you sort of answered it, erosion control and seeding. I'm freaked out about the idea of cheatgrass getting in there. And can that be adequately dealt with?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Yes, I think we will, I'm writing into the grant right now. Currently, we will be able to get money for cheatgrass spraying, and we will hopefully move forward with partnering with Game and Fish and U.S. Forest Service with spraying on Forest Service lands, and doing the same time where we can lower the money spent, better price per acre, with the collaborate with these guys and use the same contractor and everything else. But I'm hoping we can use these funds to help with the cheatgrass spraying.
Because they use helicopters to seed, right?
For the cheatgrass, yes, we will be using aerial applications. For the grass seed, we'll probably let the landowners grass seed their properties themselves. And that will count as an in-kind match.
Sure.
And the portion of other 25%.
Well, hopefully we can find a way. I don't know if this is enough money to do that, but you wouldn't want the helicopter flying to stop applying when they cross private land and have that become a hot spot for something invasive to go right back in all the areas that they applied.
Yeah, correct. And we're hoping, looking early estimates, we can do it for about $65 an acre on private lands. It's because Forest Service is looking at doing from 10 to 15,000 acres of spraying, and that's higher we go on acres, the lower the cost is going to be. So really hoping we will be able to use these funds. It's not 100% yet, but I'm pretty confident.
Well, I'll tell you that if I owned, 100 acres up there, I'd pay $6,500 to keep invasive junk off of it. I don't know that everyone has the ability or would do that. And so I wonder what sort of outreach is planned to sort of communicate the importance of that and get the involvement of the private landowners up there.
Yeah, my apologies. I should have gone into that a little bit more. So
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's all good. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. So this spring, we're going to work with a university extension office here with Brian Spady, and we are in others as well. And we're going to try to send out an information packet to all the 218, counted them this morning, different landowners that were in the Mullen fire on the Albany County side, and in the Carbon County side, there's only 2 different landowners there, thankfully. But this information pack will include everything to do with fire rehab, cheatgrass, what you can do, grass seeding, future of planting trees, if that's good and bad for your property. And then we will explain how this federal money will be spent and how people can sign up for that as well. And then we will be explaining that in the middle of June, we're hopefully to do a fire recovery workshop for these landowners, COVID dependent, up there in the fire scar area where we will invite all these landowners to come and we'll have professionals talk about cheatgrass, grass seeding, erosion control, all those matters to help them out.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bear.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Richardson, because that was my concern as well. The private landowners have been notified and all. So these services that you're going to be offering, are they optional? Meaning the private citizen and owners can decide whether or not they want to buy into this service, whatever you're supplying, or is it going to be mandatory?
It's optional. Of course, everything's optional. We just believe private land, that's their decision, that's their landowner. We strongly try to encourage them into it and try to show them the benefits of the project and what we're trying to do. But in the end of the day, if they don't want to, that's another decision, and we're here to support them no matter what on the fire and stuff. But I think we'll see I've gotten a lot of calls, Chad's gotten a lot of calls, and Vic's gotten a lot of calls about what we're planning to do, and I think we will be able to get the majority of people on board. The downside is a lot of these landowners are absentee landowners, and so they may come to property once a year, once every 3 or 4 years kind of thing. So trying to get those people here to help them out or just work with them distance-wise, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge.
I also know that the fire went into the season and then got the first snowstorm and all. Have there been any mitigation efforts made at this point?
The only mitigation efforts was the rehab of the fire lines, the building lines, the gator lines. Mostly those were done upon Forest Service grounds. We're looking at trying to take some of this money too, and where it need to be, we can do some private land rehab with this money, hopefully. But not much was done fire rehab wise. And that is another concern that we're having, is that we didn't get any moisture in the fall, no rainstorms or nothing for the people, the trees went dormant or anything went dormant. So we're not sure how everything's going to come out of next spring. Hard to say if we'll have any grass response, tree response. So it could take some time to see a good response recovery after this.
Thank you.
If you had time to seed these things with no moisture to hold it in, it could have all blown away. This has been a weird year.
Yes, it has. And to bring that bigger, we have Carbon County, the Hannah fire over there was very destructive, continuing to be very destructive. It was all 20,000 acres of open range land, and every time the wind blows out there, the sediment, the dust storms and everything else, and it's going into the water system, and it's really hard over there. So not super great. It has been weird. And thankfully, we've seen some quite a bit of snow lately, but we can always do more.
So just one quick question for anybody who wants to handle it. I know UW has some amazing rangeland, grassland specialists, especially with sage and that type of stuff. Have you guys consulted those people? I bet they would be an unbelievable resource that would probably be interested to help.
Yeah, we will. My plan is hopefully we will try to do a meeting in March, beginning of April, with whole fire rehab people that are interested and help out, and we'll be inviting everybody then to the meeting, not really open to the public, but more to the resource and professionals that can help us and making sure we're not putting our efforts across boundaries, federal, state, and private lands.
Thank you. They're amazing people. Chad.
I just want to make one additional comment. I'm not an ecologist or a forester, and that's why Travis helps us out. Some of the concerns that we have on this that are more in line with what I do are just the pure life safety hazards of the condition of the trees after the flame front has gone through. My biggest concern is getting that stuff out of the way. People are going to get hurt. Roads are going to get compromised and stuff. As you know, in the spring, we're going to have blowover. We're going to have all kinds of other things. So that's really kind of where my focus is going to be in pushing for some of those life safety issues to get cleared up and get some of that stuff out of the way before people get hurt. So that's where I found it.
So I guess my one last question that brings it, if somebody is, so that if my understanding is correct, there'll be private grants to clear some of the debris on a person's private land. Let's say they didn't want to do that, but the volunteer fire department wanted to help. Would that grant money be available to the volunteer fire department to help clear those?
So Travis can correct me and perhaps even Bailey. We feel that those types of situations and moving forward, we're going to kind of wiggle that out. Those will act as the in-kind type of matching. Okay. So if we actually need, if it's something where we're not going to get a contractor in, which we likely will, and we can use some of our local firefighters with some of their skills as sawyers and stuff like that to help clear that stuff, we will. And like I said, that'll probably lean over towards that other, matching that back $200,000 with the in-kind match. We can use our folks to do this.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. All right. We don't need any action on that other than, oh, Bailey, you have something.
Because this was on your agenda for discussion, we will have to have you approve the application because the application isn't quite ready yet. So I didn't know if you would like to do that at a special meeting or if you would like to just try to ratify it at the March 2nd meeting. Because it's due to the state on March 1st.
Commissions, any thoughts? Is the first day drop dead date?
I believe so, right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
I think we could get away by the end of the first week in March. I think we could do the second meeting, March 2nd meeting there, and be fine with getting the application in there. I've gotten it about 75% ready. I just kind of work out some more numbers wise.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
yeah.
I'd actually like to see the grant before I make any motion to approve it.
Okay, so March 2nd. Mm-hmm. If it's good with you guys, then
yeah, if I were you, it's a federal FEMA grant. It is very difficult to get through, but we are with the help of the Homeland Security working for it. So
I'm okay with as long as we don't blow up a deadline that puts the ability to receive that money in jeopardy. Yeah. I'm fine with whatever we,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if something changes, please let me know. We'll get a special meeting if we have to. Will that be enough? Thank you so much, Bailey, for bringing that up to our attention. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. I appreciate it. All right, item 17, present for approval, purchase agreement between Board of Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming and Motorola Solutions Incorporated pursuant to NASPO, Master Agreement for Public Safety Communications Equipment. Blake, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman. So this is our annual SHSP grant through the state, which is awarded at $49,000. We typically use these to purchase radios according to the county radio plan written by the last coordinator. So this is going to purchase one handheld radio for EMA, a consulate radio for the Emergency Operations Center, new mobile radio for the EMA SUV, 2 mobile radios for search and rescue trucks, 1 high-powered mobile radio for the search and rescue Snowcat, 1 mobile radio to replace one we use from LARC, and then 1 mobile radio for Laramie PD. I'll be happy to answer any questions or from this.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have nothing.
I'd entertain a motion for item 17.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair, can I just add something?
Sure.
Because I wanted to make sure it made it into your agenda cover sheet. It did not. This did not go out for bid because it's through the state, and the state did it under their bidding process. But I wanted to make sure to bring that to your attention. And we should be putting that in the packet so that you know something of this value did go out.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I move that we approve item 17 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Blake. Appreciate it. Item 18, present for approval Amendment 1 to the grant agreement between the Wyoming Business Council Community Development Division and Albany County to extend the current agreement construction services term for the Rock River demolition project from December 31st, 2020 to December 31st, 2021. Bailey.
Good morning, Commissioners. This amendment, I guess it's been a while coming. Last fall I did come forward to you to see if you wanted to extend this because the project wasn't done. We had some miscommunication, I guess, maybe the best way to put it, about completing this phase 1 portion, which took us quite a bit longer than we expected. So we were able to get an extension. I submitted a letter back in the fall. Of course, Wyoming Business Council was well into their COVID funding, and it kind of dropped off their radar. I followed up with them in January, and they have sent the amendment for that extension. So now the grant would end, or the work would be completed by December 31st, 2021, and all the reporting would be completed by December 31st, 2026.
Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chair, I will give you a funny story associated with this that you'll find funny.
Right.
It relates to the fishing. It went to my junk mail, and then I checked with IT and thought it was phishing, and that's why it got deleted, because we didn't know that it was real. Because the name of the guy was Mr. Apple or something, or so I thought it was fake. So I just thought I did delete it. So just so you know.
Well, you don't have one mark. You
Yeah,
did
exactly.
well, right? David's beaming over there, right? Awesome. Commissioners, I'd entertain a motion for item 18.
I move that we approve item 18 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Bailey. Anybody need a break before we move on?
I'm good.
Okay.
We good.
19, reconsideration of resolution 2021-006, a resolution to vacate a portion of the Cedar Avenue public right-of-way in the Centennial Plat and quitclaim deed from Albany County, Wyoming. Grantor to Diane Packett, grantee. Present for approval amendment of resolution 2021-006 with resolution 2021-006A, a resolution to vacate a portion of the Cedar Avenue public right-of-way in the Centennial Plat and quitclaim deed from Albany County, Wyoming, grantor to Diane Packett, and authorize the chairperson to sign and direct the clerk to record the documents. Alan Frank, is he on? There he is. Alan, good morning.
Good morning. All right, so this is just a continuation from the last meeting. And over that time frame, various entities got together to discuss options that would be available for presentation to you as a board. During those discussions, the petitioner asked to adjust the boundary that was requested and then include an easement for utilities to Centennial Water and Sewer District for all the areas that it contains, excluding the building and deck itself. And there were two options that the petitioner provided, a 30-foot option and a 35-foot option. From my knowing that from the survey records, the building is 26.5 feet out into the right of way. If you were to have any door off the side of that building, with the 30-foot scenario, you would be stepping straight into the right of way. Whereas if you go with the 35-foot scenario, then you would be at least have an area that you can step off onto steps and not into traffic. And so that was where my recommendation of going with the 35-foot square would be. And we have corresponding easements for the district from the petitioner, depending on which scenario you would like to go with. And I know things have apparently changed as after these discussions have gone on, and that I'm not privy to or know anything about. So I'm just presenting as far as what I know.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions?
I'd like to hear from Peggy about some of this.
Thank you. Commissioner,
No,
County
I don't
Attorney
want to do
Trent.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
County Attorney. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, you have, from the last meeting, if you recall, there was a vote where you did not move this forward or voted it down as to the revised reduction or moving it to 35 feet. Under Robert's rules, which we do exist under our code of operation, you can bring it back for reconsideration today, and it would have to be from either Commissioner Ibarra or Chairman Gosar to bring it back on the agenda for reconsideration. At that time, there's been discussion about potential consideration, compensation, if it was vacated. And in your packet, I think we did include, although it said blank in your A, it's $9,240 is the value. Yeah, $9,240. So if you would reconsider, and you do bring this back on for reconsideration, it would need to be brought by one of you two and then voted on whether you want to reconsider it. So we have the resolution on your agenda. Then at that time, I would recommend an amendment to the resolution, replacing it with A in its entirety, where we added the language of what has transpired since the last meeting of February 2nd to today. And if it is your desire to ask for consideration or compensation, we would need to amend to include that amount of $9,240. At this point, we did provide you a legal memo on this issue. I emailed that out, I believe, on Friday, so that you had an idea legally what we're looking at right now. At this point, it's a policy decision, what you want to do, whether you want to bring it back on and whether you want to bring forward consideration. I will tell you that this vacation is different than other vacations in that normally when an applicant brings it on, they're asking for it to be vacated, and it actually goes down the middle per the state statute where you divide it, a portion going to other adjoining landowners. In this case, you have one applicant that is asking to get title of it, and it's a partial to go to them where they are benefiting, which is different than the others. You still have to have the findings, is it in the public good to vacate that portion? But this entity is actually benefiting from that vacation. I would recommend in the future that if we go down this route, and this is a policy decision that we, and I think Commissioner Richardson had recommended it in the off conversation we had, that we put it in the application so people know that this up front, that there is a cost in this unique situation. Not all situations will require it, but in this situation. And if you do move forward, at this point, I made it subject to that payment. If they don't pay it, then it isn't vacated. And I also made it subject to the easements of the water district, because I don't think those have been filed, or there's confusion whether they have or not, those easements. So I made it sure it was subject to that. So it's all going to be dependent upon whether they want to pay the money. And if they don't want to pay the money, that's their prerogative and it isn't vacated. Could they then come back and say, I know that someone may say you can't charge. I think the law is not outlined in this area. I think this is unique and we can separate it. I know what the law says about being public land, but at the same time, this is unique where an entity is who built some item into the right of way has benefited. So I think this is unique in that regard. So that's what the law has laid out. So it all depends if you want to bring it back on, which you don't need to. It's up to you.
So real quick question, Peggy. Let's say, for instance, Commissioner Ibarra brings it on. Do I have to second it, or can Commissioner Richardson second it? How does that?
If he does it, it could be, it's just that you have, one of you who is in the majority has to bring it on. So it could be either one.
Okay, okay.
Once it's on the floor, then you're fine.
Okay.
Just one in the majority, which is both of you, has to bring it on.
Super, thank you.
So I can't make the motion, but I can second it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, is everybody clear?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions, just for clarification, making sure. First of all, this 9,240 compensation, did either Diane Packett or Ms. Powell, are they aware of it?
I'm not sure if they are aware of that amount. This is all new coming forward. We could bring it on the floor, then negotiate, but I did not have discussions with them, and I don't believe Alan did. I'm not sure we did.
Okay.
And I didn't know if this was the direction of the commissioners, right. And I felt that would be out of line.
Okay.
To talk to them.
And is that amount of money for the 30 feet or the 35 feet?
It is for the 35 feet, and it is the assessor's value, which is less than the market value. So it's at the lower value.
And then I just have a question. I just want to make sure, because I don't know all these legal processes and all. Does the easement then follow the owner? If Ms. Packett should choose to sell this land in the future, does that easement follow with the owner?
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioner out there, it depends. An attorney answer. If it gets, if they follow through, make the restitution and file the easement, that will go with the land in the future. So if they don't do any of that, because right now there's a question, there's no easement without getting into it. So that would be recorded, then yes, it would.
So thank you, Peggy. Tammy Powell, I see you have your hand up.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm a little bit confused and a little bit blindsided by this consideration. Because in my 38 years of doing title search, the county doesn't own that property. So I'm confused why it would be seeking compensation for it. The streets and alleys are dedicated to the use of the public. Fred Miller still has fee title to that street. So I'm confused how the county can get paid for something they don't own. My understanding in my title career is that the county is the trustee for the public because there has to be an appointed entity to act on behalf of the public. And that's why streets and alleys are dedicated to the use of the public on plats. But you do not have fee title to it, so I don't understand how you can seek compensation for it.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Powell. Commissioner Richardson.
We were in receipt of what I think was confidential attorney-client privilege information that discussed the legal differences in title and ownership and so on. Like a county road that's named, numbered, and maintained by Road and Bridge is property owned by the county, in a situation where, oh, we did a vacation of the extension of Bill Nye, where there was, kind of at the back of Sherman Hills, where the street was never completed, and there was, in the end, that was supposed to be a big wide street, back in the vision of 30 years ago, that would connect to a belt loop across the aquifer, right, which we know won't happen, like an arterial. And so the developer who owns the property next to it asked for us to vacate it. And that was sort of more along the lines of what Peggy was describing as the process where you split the vacation down the middle and it goes to the, in other words, it's like returning land back to the developers because there isn't a public purpose for the use, right? So in this case, there is a street there, and we actually do have to consider whether, so I think what Tammy Powell is saying, and she could agree with me, the fact that the street, and this happens in subdivisions as opposed to dedicated arterials and, highway rights of way and things like that, right? That's a different type of ownership. In this case, since we have to make the legal distinction, I think, between whether we are relinquishing the public's ability to use some portion of that street as the public stewards of it, or if we're actually relinquishing ownership of that street. And that's a legal question that, I suppose we could bring this back. No, I can't, but you can. We could bring this back, and all it has to do is be brought back. It doesn't necessarily have to have a decision made today, but it does have to be brought out of the ash heap of public business today, or it dies forever. So, according to Robert's rules. So, in light of the legal memo I read twice, and I mostly understood it. Because it was like a choose your own adventure. There were so many different ways to go that when you got to the end, it was hard to pull it back together. It was a legal choose your own adventure. So, but anyway, I guess those are my comments. We need to learn something about the status, and fee title is a key legal point.
Thank you, Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Ibarra, any questions?
I have no questions.
So I guess just to summarize maybe where we're at, nothing happens and we have a house or a cabin in the street, right? Which is not ideal. We can bring back the resolution, and then this keeps this issue alive for today or next week or whenever. Or we can bring the resolution, bring the amended resolution with that consideration. And then there's the ball goes back to Ms. Packett and how they want to proceed. Is that kind of clear of where we are?
That's correct. And the other option, Chairman, as Commissioner Richardson raised, you could bring it back on the floor, vote to reconsider it, and then delay it in order to reassess this issue with the fee I think it's laid out that it is a complex issue. And I think Commissioner Richardson's assessment of the memo and that is very accurate because the law is not clear.
Is there something that the Attorney General would weigh in on here, or is there nothing that they would?
I could request an AG opinion that could take months, which we can do,
Okay.
and we could delay that for an AG opinion. I think it's going to be a long, and they may decline to do it, but I think it is an issue of interest for prosecutors throughout. I did reach out to counterparts about the issue to see how in other communities this is being done. Many, or one particular who utilizes this process a lot was very intrigued by this because this is a reoccurring problem where we are seeing this occur, and this is up north in other parts where we have the oil and gas industry and this is occurring. So they felt this was, they would like to see this occur. They agreed with the legal analysis that it is potentially, but it isn't, we don't have Wyoming case law to follow. There is a case out there, but we can distinguish it. So at this point, if you would like, I think the AG, I could request an opinion and then report back. So we would need to delay it into the future. The average turnaround time for AG opinions, as you know, it takes a while.
Right.
So we're talking months.
Okay.
At least it wouldn't be dead. If you do vote it down and don't bring it on, then it can't be brought back for another 2 years. So, I mean, that's your other option.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Commissioner Rivera.
I'm ready to make a motion to reconsider Resolution 2021-006 and wait on any further action until we have an opinion from the AG office.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I would love it if it got brought to the floor and then we made. To me, it seems like those are two separate things, and I would like to separate them out if we could.
Okay. So
Can you rescind that motion and make a different one, please?
Okay. So I rescind that motion, and let's just go with the motion to reconsider Resolution 2021-006.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Any further motions?
Mr. Chairman, I guess that maybe it's a question, maybe it's a statement. So now the original petition is back in play. And I'm glad of that because if it had stayed dead, it would for a certain period of time, and also for Ms. Packett to re-petition us, she would have to start at zero and we would appoint a viewer. And so the starting point is after all this work has been done. So for clarity, I think what this commission, through our viewers and our attorney, is inclined to do, I think this is where we're at, is we're trying to decide if we have the legal right to charge for to ask compensation for the relinquishment of the land and for the vacation of the land. And I'm not sure maybe we need to talk a little more about the implications of the Attorney General opinion, because this is pretty pedestrian, and I'm not that sympathetic for this to be a model case for the entire rest of Wyoming. I probably am more inclined to get it resolved once we know once we're comfortable with our legal position in the matter. Oil companies and counties that have oil have a lot more money to kick this one around than we do. And so I frankly don't feel the need to be the test case for those turkeys. So anyway, I mean, I would like to get it resolved whether I don't want a house in the street, and it's easier to make the street go away than the house go away. Whether we charge for that or don't is another thing entirely. So I guess I'm against going Attorney General because I think that's just going overboard for this little project here. It seems like too much to me for what we're dealing with.
Commissioner Gosar?
Yes, go ahead, please, Ms. Bell.
I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to catch up because, again, we didn't know about the consideration. The last I knew, the objection from the Centennial Sewer and Water District and the fact that there were no recorded easements from the county for Cedar Street was the reason that Centennial Sewer and Water District objected. I understand they have now removed their objection because we have prepared easements for wherever there is no building on the 35 feet, preferably the 35 feet. And please don't think I'm being presumptuous. I'm just trying to, get a picture out here. Diane has committed to give an easement to Centennial Sewer and Water for all of the land that is not encumbered by an improvement. And they withdrew their objection. So now today I'm learning that there's yet another layer that's never been heard of. Again, I've been doing this a long time, and that's never come up because the county doesn't have fee title to that land. Now, whether they have the right to charge for it, I'm not an attorney, I can't tell you, but they don't own the land. So what are they getting paid for? It is a question that I have. So I'm confused that if the main objectioner and the petitioner have come to an agreement, why there's still an objection of, as Heber says, drawing Centennial as it actually exists. I'm just confused. And Peggy, I wanted to go to your point of the centerline vacation. I addressed this in the first meeting. I did not request 40. I did 40 feet in the beginning so that we didn't have to get to ownership over on the east side of the street. Because once an entity vacates a parcel, particularly a street or an alley, then if you vacate 40 feet, 20 feet goes to that landowner, 20 feet goes to that landowner. But the county holds the street in trust for the public, so it would go to the petitioner who petitioned on the west side. So I did that very strategically, just because I know this isn't something you guys deal with on a daily basis. So I'm just wondering if you could give me a little direction of how we got where we're at and why aren't we talking about the original objection and that's been withdrawn and we've got a solution. And if you could help me out, please.
Ms. Powell, so the commission has an obligation to the health and welfare of everybody in the county, and people building houses and streets is not useful to our mission. And now I'm not saying that was done purposefully. I'm not ascribing any intent, but I'm also saying that can't continue to happen because we get into these sticky situations where there's really a hard decision to be made. So just giving the vacation has its share of consequences also. And we need to be very cognizant of what those consequences would be. This commission has given vacations in the past, and those vacations have been turned and sold for the benefit of the landowner in a short amount of time. Now, whether you agree with that or you don't agree with that, I think there's a strong case to be made that that might not have been in the public interest. So our charge as commissioners, as I see it, is to do the best we can in the public interest. We have a cabin in the street. It's better to get it done right than to get it done quickly, in my opinion. And so we're trying to flesh out the entire conversation, because in my 2 years here, we haven't had this conversation on vacations, and I think it's long overdue. And unfortunately, you and Ms. Packett get to endure this conversation, but I think ultimately the commission would like to get it right. And whatever right means, we'll do the best we can. But as you can admit, this is not just a easy one. And I think we need to take some more time. We have given ourselves at this point more time to do that. Now, whether we want to continue down that line and finish it today as we see fit or not, that will be for this commission to decide. But quite honestly, there are more concerns than just Centennial Water and Sewer District in my mind. So does that give you any clarity to what the commission was thinking?
I appreciate that, Chairman Gosar, but the fact is the county doesn't own the land. And so I guess I don't know why. I'm just confused, because we worked very, very hard to try and reach a resolution with what we understood was the main objectioner and the county's resistance to do that vacation, because we certainly, I mean, all of those properties up there benefit from Centennial Sewer and Water. And we don't want to deny that they needed an easement. So we granted them that easement, but how we can get from interpreting the vacation statute that clearly indicates that the county is only a trustee for the public's use, or for the public, not an owner, that confuses me and it concerns me, because the county doesn't own it. And I understand that, I was aware of the Mountain View Hotel vacation. I've been aware of many vacations around the town. Heber, you talk about the county owns a county road. That's not necessarily true. You only own a county road if you have a deed to it. You only have the right for it if you have an easement. And so
it's like the difference between title and easement.
Exactly.
Easement.
And fee title is a huge thing. The heirs of Frederick S. Miller own that ground, not the county of Albany. And so I just, again, please bear with me, because I was just real caught off guard this morning. But I think, I too, Peggy, called several counties and I called several attorneys to make sure that my interpretation of these vacation statutes are what I have been writing my title insurance for 38 years. And there has not been any county in the state that I'm aware of, maybe you talked to one that I didn't, that has ever considered charging for consideration. And every attorney that I talked to said, absolutely not does the county own the property unless they have a deed. So I just am wondering, and Pete, I understand that your role is to do the best for the public. But what is the best for the public? To make Diane move her house? I mean, she bought it that way. It's been that way since 1993. Certainly, if there's a covenant to be put on properties or streets in the future that if you build there, you move it, I certainly understand that. But we didn't create that problem. We just discovered it. So I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you.
Well, Tammy, I appreciate your discussion, but we have a house in the street that it's not supposed to be there. I mean, ultimately, that's what it is. And I guess if the county wanted to say, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm just going to couch this as I'm not an attorney, we would like that house to be out of the street, then that house would be out of that street eventually, right? And so because that house is in the street, does not make that street owned by the person who owns that house. Now, we all have a right and an obligation to do due diligence when we buy something. And so this is not as straightforward as, hey, we worked out an agreement with the Laramie or the Centennial Water and Sewer District. This has to be discussed at a policy level, I think, by this commission, which is what we're doing. I respect the fact that you've reached out to other attorneys and you've done that research, but I just don't feel like it's as simple as I'm hearing in your discussion. And so I appreciate, however, that you're digging in, and that's what this commission is trying to do, is to dig in and get it right. And so noted your ideas on behalf of Ms. Packett.
So if I could say just one more thing, I don't believe that the county would have the ability to force her to move her house, because you only hold that street for the benefit of the public. But I'm just thinking again from all of my years behind me, but I appreciate the conversation. I do think it's simple. I think that's why we have the statutes regarding vacation that don't allow for compensation. So again, if you feel you need to investigate further, by all means, we appreciate still being considered. It's very frustrating. As you can imagine, I mean, if you were the landowner and you bought a house and it was in the street, I mean, put yourself in Miss Packett's position. But I do want to say thank you for bringing this back and reconsidering it. And if you could let us know what the next steps for us are to be, I'd be most appreciative.
Thank you, Tim. Commissioners, would you like to table this? Get more information? Would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I actually think that no matter what we do, we're going to wind up at the same place, whether we do this today or do it next meeting or next year. We're going to wind up at the same place because of the legal distinctions. Legally, I know we can vacate it. There's a legitimate question, a really legitimate question, whether we can charge for it. So, to your point, Mr. Chairman, I'm not really sympathetic to people who can't drag a string between the property line pins and make sure. And the setbacks in Centennial, because the lots are so small and it's considered a historic neighborhood, the setbacks are 0. We actually could leave it at 30 feet and have the door open into the street because the setback, I mean, legally speaking, because the setbacks are 0. So I guess my point is, at some point, we're going to have to decide how we're going to get the house out of the street. It's either to get the street out from under the house or the house out of the street. And so basically, we're only at the place, in my opinion, because I actually appreciate that Ms. Packett and Tammy Powell went and got themselves sorted out with the sewer and water district. Really, the only question that we're looking to be answered here is the legal status of that property and whether we can charge based on the legal status of that property. And in reading the Matt Ayers' excellent choose your own adventure legal brief, when I got through it, I was at the understanding that without fee title, we can't charge. We can vacate it, but we can't charge to vacate it. I could be wrong about that. So I'm not trying to, steer this commission in that sense. But I think that we're going to wind up at the place where we're deciding how much to vacate, and whether it's 30 feet, 35 feet, 40 feet, whatever, we're going to be deciding how much to vacate, and that's it, not whether we can charge or not. I just think that's where we're going to end up. So I would make a motion to that effect today or any day that we meet. I'd kind of like to move on because we have other business that we need to do. With respect to properties being sold once they're straightened out, that's the whole point of the process. Like that ice house sat in the middle of the street as long as the subdivision was there 100 years. And so consequently, there was never a physical street to vacate, only a platted street. So in that sense, the Mountain View Hotel thing was a little bit different issue than this one. But to say that somebody's taking advantage by cleaning up a piece of property so that they can own it outright or sell it or what, I don't. The fact of the matter is not in the public best interest to own a street that has immovable obstacles in it. And Centennial's funky and weird, and so it's always the path of least resistance and most reasonable is to redraw Centennial the way that it is in all its funkiness. I think that this process for a few petitioners coming to this board has pretty much taught everybody in Centennial, if not the county, that they better know where the property lines are and what the setbacks are. I don't see us having to, stop people in the middle of construction. I think that this goes back to the hillbilly days of Albany County, and we have GIS and GPS and all of these things. I don't see this happening in the future. It's just a matter of cleaning up what is going back decades. So I'm not particularly concerned about precedent, because pretty much when a petitioner comes to this board, they're begging for some relief. We don't have to grant Ms. Packett any relief. We could leave the house in the street and go on with our lives. There aren't that many areas where we make policy decisions where we have this broad of array of choices. But I think we're going to wind up back right at this place. And I think that is, we decide how much we would vacate if we're going to vacate anything at all. And I don't think we'll be allowed to charge for it. So I'm okay with taking care of this today, or I'm okay with us doing it at a later date. I just think that's where we're gonna end up.
County Attorney Trent.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, no disrespect to Commissioner Richardson, but my legal intern is a very good writer, very smart, top of his class.
Sure.
And did an excellent job in his legal analysis. So to say he took a legal adventure through law.
No, you're misunderstanding. This is important. Hang on. It was really well done. And that's what made it a legal choose your own adventure, because it was complex and it branched out and then it came back together, but it was hard to tie back together. It was a compliment.
Okay. And I just want to make sure, because I stand up for my staff. I know, but I took offense because I protect my staff and they work hard.
No need to do that in this case.
Okay. Duly noted, and I accept that as maybe I misunderstood what you said, but I have hardworking staff who take this job seriously. So along that line, and I'll just throw this out, I've owned property up in Centennial, and I've been the victim of all of these lines that are drawn. And my due diligence is to get title insurance, and I go back on my title company, which Ms. Powell is a title company. And a title company is responsible that I can't sell my property if I don't have proper title insurance to own that land. So whoever, purchased that land with that in the roadway, they should have known to get proper title. How does it come? So that's why there's insurance, to go back on a title company that said, we'll give you title insurance to transfer that title. And now they step aside and come to you, the county commissioners, to make it right when they put it out there for title insurance. And I had the issue happen to me, but I ended up paying the money. But now we come in here and we say, no, this is fee simple determinable. I'm not denying it, but this is unique to this situation.
Yeah, I mean, hang on, County Attorney Trent.
So
we'll
I just
you.
want you to know, I've been in this situation where title insurance became the issue. And it is a problem for a lot of people. Now, the question becomes, do you do nothing? Let them deal with it in their civil manner, because evidently we can't force her to take it down, according to Ms. Powell. We can't do anything but give them the land and let them move on to sell it and make a profit. That's your call. It's a policy decision. But I don't want to stand here and sit here and make it sound like you, the county, are overreaching, because there's two sides to this story. And, you know, at this point, it may be you brought it on. Probably the best is let's delay. Let's have some dialogue and discussion legally. Let me talk to Ms. Powell's attorney. Let us talk it out and then bring it back to you at a later date. That way, we've really vetted this. I don't see the value of going to the AG, because the AG, we have the legal opinion and we'll do it. But we could bring it back.
Okay, thank you, County Attorney Trent. Appreciate it. And Tammy.
I don't know who to address. I'll just address the commission. Peggy.
The commission would be great.
One thing about title insurance, as I explained in the last two meetings, is we don't insure where physical buildings are. We insure the chain of title to what you buy. So if you don't get a survey, which Ms. Packett didn't do until December of this year, and until the aerial imagery was available through the Albany County Assessor's website, we had not a clue that that building was not on the deed that she got. So I just want to make that clear. Title insurance is 100% supposed to tell you that you own the legal description to what is on your deed, but it does not ensure that your improvements sit within that legal description. So I just want to make that point.
Thank you. Yes, come on up, please. Could you state your name, please, Dana?
Thank you, commissioners. Tana Leibold. I just wanted to make the small point that I really appreciate all the details that everyone's looking into. I think that unfortunately, this discussion pertains to not just this one situation. I do feel it's going to go on into the future, because unfortunately in Centennial, I have a neighbor who just this summer built a staircase off the back of his house, and it's in the alleyway. It's easy to see from the pins on my property that it is in the alleyway. I have approached the planning department and asked them what if they could help with a solution, and have been told that they cannot. And I just wanted to make the point. I really appreciate you considering really digging into all aspects of this issue, because it's a much larger problem than just this one situation. And thank you.
Thank you. So I will. Yeah,
Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair. I want to applaud the different entities for coming together and trying to resolve this in an amicable way and something that is just for everyone. My concern again was that Ms. Packett was blindsided by this amount and hadn't heard about it yet. Now that Ms. Powell has, she can speak to the fact with her client. And I guess my only comment is I'm not sure I'm ready to take any action right now. I don't agree with Commissioner Richardson that about a precedence. I think we will be, as we were just told about another situation that may be coming before us. So at this time, I would like to, at least for my own sake, think this all out, and with all the new information and have an opportunity. I don't think we're in a rush here to make a decision, unless I'm wrong and this packet is planning on selling or something that she needs to have this taken care of. Otherwise, I believe that we should take the time to look at all areas here. And while we brought it back into discussion, I think that's where it should stay right now until we have further information or something else to think about. So I'd like to refrain from doing any kind of action here today.
Thank you. So I guess I have a situation in my own property here in Laramie that is not completely analogous, but kind of analogous, right? So I have an old house and nobody knows where the property definitions are between my garage on my house and the property next to me. When I went to rebuild that garage, the city said, well, you really can't unless you use the same envelope, unless of course you want to find the corners of your property because we have setbacks and blah, da, 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 da. So it was on me as the property owner to determine the boundary lines. We come here today because some time ago, we were petitioned for this property. Now, if you look at the survey, the record of survey, you'll see that in the northwest and northeast corners of the property, there are monuments found as described. The property is not just the house. The property has an outbuilding that appears to be on the outside of the property boundary, a walkway on the outside of the boundary. So this is just not a house. So this is complicated, Ms. Powell, and I'm with Commissioner Ibarra. I think I need to think about it some more. But obviously, there are other considerations too. If this is a 1993 house, where do we draw the line? Do we say everything that happened before today gets into there? Or do we say, well, if you're building in the property of somebody else or the communities, yeah, nah, this is going to be the process. So we have a policy discussion to make. And although I understand your haste and willingness to want to get this resolved, I come back to my thoughts. I'd like to get it resolved right instead of quickly. And so I do appreciate Tammy, you and Ms. Packett and Centennial Water and Sewer Commission working on this and getting an amicable solution. That will certainly be part of it. I'm sure going forward. I appreciate Alan Frank for doing the work that he's done. I really do appreciate Peggy's office and Matt's work because those are questions that I have and I still have a few more. So I'm with you, Commissioner Ibarra. I think we should table it and to where we feel comfortable in making a decision one way or the other. So I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table resolution 2021-006.
Thank you, Weaver. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Just one quick question, County Attorney Trent. By tabling this will keep this alive. I just want to make sure that we'll keep this alive if we table this discussion.
Yes, it's still alive, but we really should have a definite date to bring it back so that we know, it's still out there and bringing it forward. So maybe continue it for another month, 30 days for us to bring it back at the second meeting in March. That way we've had an opportunity to report back to you and answer all.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend my motion to not only table this, but to bring it off the table the second meeting in March.
The 16th. Thank you.
Second.
Second, agrees.
Uh-huh.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you guys for being here. Item 20. Present for approval, Resolution 2021-007, a resolution acknowledging Pope Springs Community Special Road Improvement District's compliance with Wyoming State Statute 9-1-507A, Roman numeral 7, and authorizing the Albany County Treasurer to release special assessment funds. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning,
Still.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Resolution 2021-007 is a resolution acknowledging Hope Springs Community Special Road Improvement District's compliance with the Wyoming Statute 9-1-507A7 and authorizing the Albany County Treasurer to release special assessment funds. The Board of County Commissioners was given notice that Hope Springs was non-compliant in regards to reporting their annual report. On January 13th, 2021, Hope Springs submitted the necessary reports to the state of Wyoming, the Department of Audit, and is now in compliance with Wyoming statute. Therefore, we are asking the Board of County Commissioners that because of their compliance, that Albany County Treasurer Tracy Fletcher can now release funds that are owed to the district, and this is presented for your consideration.
Thank you. Commissioners, any conversation, discussion? I'd entertain a motion on item number 20 then.
I move that we approve item 20 as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jackie, thank you and the office, your office, for being so proactive in getting this to Hope Springs. And of course, I think we'll see another one coming up. Really do appreciate it. I think without your office, we might not be at this stage, and they might not either. So thank you. 21, discuss letter from Secretary of State Ed Buchanan regarding election security. Jackie, you're up again.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the Secretary of State's office basically had a physical security inspection of our election building done early last year. In the assessment, they were able to discover that we have a couple of issues that needed to be remedied. And at that time, one of them was having no camera on the east side of the building. And so through the Secretary of State's office, my office applied for a grant for the installation of a security camera. And with the assistance of Adam in IT, we were able to secure that grant and get the camera in place. There were a couple of areas of other concerns that were brought during this audit, one being the lock system that we have in place. Certainly there's entry here on the north side as well as the east side. But as you enter the building where we secure the ballots and all of our election information, there is a vault. It was brought to our attention that we should also do a different key system for access into the election building for security measures, as well as the vault area. As you recall, Bill Gorman presented this morning information on the key lock system and moving forward. That issue will be resolved by the end of this fiscal year, hopefully. And with that in mind, there was another area of concern that wasn't brought to the attention of the Board of County Commissioners, but it was an area where right now the way the pavement is sloped, when there is inclement weather, whether it's a rainstorm or heavy snow, there is a seeping that that area gets wet. We're concerned about the damage that it could cause, not only in the election building, but to the equipment that we secure. Right now, we are working with Bill Gorman to give us an idea and the cost of what it will be to fix that little envelope gap on the east side of the building. Bill is working with us, and I hope to report within the next couple of months the cost and hopes that the Board of County Commissioners will approve funding from the courthouse renovation funds to fix that gap within the pavement so that we will no longer have any water or moisture issues enter the building. At this point in time, I just wanted to bring to your attention the concerns that were brought by Secretary Buchanan to let you know that one of the two concerns has already been addressed and taken care of. And the second concern will be addressed and taken care of as soon as the new key lock system is in place within all of the buildings within the county.
Commissioners, any questions?
I just have one, Mr. Chair. Jackie, with the key lock system, who all will have access to that as far as the code and all? Will that just be your department in particular elections, or?
At this time, Commissioner Ibarra, it is the intent of just having my staff have the ability to have access into the vault area. In the past, we've allowed IT security access, and in the event that an emergency should arise, I would also like to have Sheriff Applehans or one of his employees have access in the event an emergency arises that they need to have access. Otherwise, right now it's controlled with the key system that we have and is very limited to only staff at this time. Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you, Jackie, for that. I appreciate it. I guess we won't be able to make the June 30, 2020. Hopefully we will, but for the locks. But at least we are down that path, and hopefully we'll get those done as soon as we can. And
that project is in place. He's aware of that, but to let him know that we're not going to just
okay, thank you. Appreciate it. 22, present for approval. Resolution 2021-008, a resolution approving Wyoming Downs LLC to conduct pari-mutuel horse racing and to operate simulcast of pari-mutuel wagering on live and historical horse racing at a satellite facility and existing bars within Albany County, Wyoming. Commissioners. Attorney Tran, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, you have before you a resolution that I had drafted, taking into consideration the previous resolution from 2016 and in 2018. From my research, I was able to determine that the location for Wyoming Downs, the new location, had expired. The previous commissioners had placed it for 3 years, and that was just an oversight that someone didn't bring it back for our authorization. So I incorporated that in this along with the bars and that were requested. We do not have a limitation on the number of years. What I did add is that this is subject to the rules and enforcement of the state. What I was concerned about, like we did in our previous resolution in 16, is that you had an avenue if there was non-compliance with the rule at the state level that we can pull our permit back as well and still have that authority. Otherwise, we're relying on the state if there is non-compliance to take action, and this gives you a little bit more authority retained at our local level. This one does not have a limit of number of years. In the past, we put 3 years. However, we expired and we didn't catch that it had expired, nor had they approached us. So it's up to you whether you want to add a year limit, if what you want to do, but I made sure I put in from 16, so we had it inclusive.
Commissioners. Commissioner Richardson, anything?
Yeah, I have a general comment, Mr. Chairman. I think that because we have the opportunity to use some regulatory discretion rather than turning it over to the Gaming Commission, I think we should exercise that. Most specifically because Albany County is a unique demographic in a lot of ways because of the young people here and university, and some cultural things were very different than some other parts of the state. For a time in my 20s, I lived in northern Nevada. And you heard that no matter where you went, you could go in a convenience store or a grocery store, and you heard that damn dinging everywhere you went. And it actually, there is a cultural aspect to that. So I will say that I don't have any trouble with private clubs having these sorts of things, and maybe some destination type places, but like as a vending machine for gambling, stuck anywhere here and there, I have no interest in that whatsoever. It would be, well, and the fact of the matter is, it maybe wouldn't get used. Maybe people would find that there's only certain places they could put them and actually make money, you know. Anyway, that's my general opinion on the subject.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I was a little concerned with some of what Mr. Cameron said this morning as far as this being a blanket resolution, and that we should make sure that every situation goes through its own licensing process and all. But Peggy, to be clear, this resolution is for all existing bars within Albany County. The change of the location of the satellite facility, one, but then it also is a blanket resolution for all existing bars. Commissioner Richardson's comment that it does still allow us to decide not to put it in mini marts or anything else. It's just for the bars.
Right, and that, we could clarify bars with liquor license, so it's very connected, so a bar is liquor license. Right now, I don't know if we have one in Walmart, where they sell liquor, but we could just say where there's liquor license to add on and insert just to clarify that. What's unique in that I have not seen other, maybe I'm incorrect in other communities, you can have the power to revoke it if they don't comply with the rules of the state. So that gives some more authority to you too. But we could add that, if you don't mind, to that, if you do go forward with that liquor license, just to clarify. I didn't know there was a discussion because I wasn't here with mini marts and so forth.
Sure.
Chairman,
go ahead, Commissioner Richardson.
I guess to clarify my specific intent, because we have the legal ability to do so, would be to make sure that these things are in designated places as opposed to something you happen across. In other words, a destination location. Like everybody knows when they walk into a casino what's going to be inside there. But if you're, so there are all kinds of different liquor licenses. There are restaurant liquor licenses. There are package liquor licenses. There are full retail liquor licenses that are dispensing and package and all of it, right? And they don't necessarily have to have food sale in that establishment. I am not a micromanager at all, not at all. But in this particular case, and because I think we have the authority, I would want for us to approve these on an application case-by-case basis. And have no blanket whatsoever, not even bars in 21, that.
Commissioner O'Hara, anything? I'm of like mind, quite honestly, Heber, and I, what does it hurt to come by us, right? We have that to change this destination today. probably going to be able to be accommodated, but it'd be nice to know where these all are. And if a community, for instance, where there is a community bar, doesn't feel like they would like to deal with these, then maybe they should have the opportunity to say they don't want to deal with it, and then putting it on the record is an opportunity to just say that. So,
well, it's an obstacle. We would be intentionally introducing an obstacle to business, because we have the authority to do it. Sometimes we might try things that we don't have the authority to do, but I think in this case, we have the authority to do it, and B, that the reason I would introduce the obstacle is because I think it needs to be there. Like I said, I'm not a micromanager, and I'm not inclined to micromanage the business environment at all. But gambling specifically, there's a reason why liquor licenses are finite and decided on a case-by-case basis. And I think that gambling establishments belong in that same category.
So, commissioners, would you like to move this to the next meeting with those ideas being out there to the county attorney's office? And County Attorney Trent, do you feel like you have the direction that you need from us?
I can amend it.
Well, and if this is a discussion item, I mean, I'm just offering my opinion, so I don't know that there's a consensus here. I don't know if Peggy has clear direction based on what I say. I'd like to hear more from the two of you.
I actually think we both have agreed with what you said, Chief, that, as I said before, I was concerned with this blanket at all existing bars. I'm not sure, as you pointed out, or Commissioner Gosar pointed out, not all bars may be up for it. I, too, think that we should be looking at things site by site, and they can apply if it's something that they want. It comes before us. And I think it's important enough. I've never lived in a situation you have, but I hate to think of hearing those little ding-a-ling, every place you go. It's irritating. So,
right. Well, it might be a date to maybe correspond with liquor licenses, so that these come up as liquor licenses, so they don't have to be such an administrative nightmare for people to remember. Might be a useful piece that we just approve them all or don't approve them at the same time, however that goes. I don't know. So that would be my thought about it, but just trying to get away the administrative, hey, it's 2 years from today. Well, that's a weird date to try to remember. So
I would guess that lots of establishments would have no interest.
Right.
Some might, they have to run the numbers because there's a cost associated with it and all that kind of stuff. They got to analyze the market to see, whether they belong doing that, who their customers are. But so I don't think that we should necessarily have a limited number, right? But I do think that every application should be considered by this board and then renewed as their liquor license would come up. Right. And as far as having them in a place that doesn't have a liquor license, I don't think that's appropriate. I don't know how that affects private clubs and bars, private clubs like Elks, Moose, VFW, Eagles, those sorts of organizations. Because I don't know what their liquor licenses are like, but that might be something we have to think about in the internet. Because I think they're fine in those private clubs.
County Attorney Trent, would the 2nd of March be you split enough time?
Yeah,
okay, let's put that on the 2nd of March. Make myself a note here. Thank you, commissioners. Great discussion. Okay. Item 23, discussion on community economic development plan. And I guess I'll just take this one. It's just a brief introduction into the record, the community economic development plan that Commissioner Jones worked on when she was there, and lots of other entities. I read through it. seems to be a pretty good roadmap. And if we could accomplish some or all of those things, we'd be well on our way. But my whole idea was just that it's a work that this body has done. We'll put it in the record and refer to it. I didn't have any other idea other than that. Commissioners, do you have any other thoughts on that?
I just have a comment that I applaud all those people who worked on this and the many hard hours they had to put into it, because every section has some kind of action strategy, and it was quite an impressive document. So I too would like to see maybe some of these things come to be sooner than later, but I think it's a good piece of work to go forth.
And maybe it'll tie into our next agenda item, which is present for approval, Resolution 2021-009, resolution appointing county commissioners for Albany County, Wyoming to working groups with the city of Laramie to accomplish shared priorities. So I guess just to give a little background, the city and the county have established 3 groups to work on shared projects, or at least understandings. The first group would be a joint plan of the municipal and county government for the Casper Aquifer Protection Zone and the Environmental Advisory Committee. The second group would be development of a joint plan for a rural-urban interface, high priority growth area, including infrastructure and economic development. And the third one would be general intergovernmental sharing and cooperation planning for municipal and county services. The first group, Commissioner Ibarra has volunteered for. The second would be Commissioner Richardson. They gave you as Herb Richardson.
That's always fun.
Which made me laugh last week.
It happens to me a lot. Even autocorrect will, somebody will type my name the right way, and if they don't catch it, it just decide that Heber can't be what they did. Right. So I wouldn't even hold it against them. It's just happens.
And I guess just to list off the members entirely. So the Aquifer Protection Environmental Advisory Committee would be Councilmember Sharon Cumby, Councilmember Aaron O'Doherty, Councilmember Pat Gabriel, and Commissioner Sue Vera.
That's Iberia to you.
The joint plan for rural urban interface high priority growth area, including infrastructure and economic development, would be Councilmember Jessica Stalder, Councilmember Brian Harrington, Mayor Paul Weaver, and Commissioner Heber Richardson. And then general intergovernmental sharing cooperation planning for municipal and county services, Vice Mayor Jane Pierce, Councilmember Brian Schuster, Councilmember Andy Somerville, and Chairman Pete Gosar. So I'd entertain any discussions or any motions with regard to 24.
So just one question. So once these resolutions are approved both by us as well as city council, we're free to go ahead and start meeting and formulating a plan and goals and all.
Yeah, I thought I saw something, maybe I just saw it from Nancy or the county manager's office, the city manager's office, that they might help us arrange these meetings.
Okay.
So,
well, there's 3 of them on each one, and one of us. So
right.
Yeah.
We gotta have their help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 2021-009, a resolution appointing county commissioners for Albany County, Wyoming to working groups with the city of Laramie, Wyoming to accomplish shared priorities as described by you.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 25, discuss formation of the Environmental Advisory Committee. Commissioners, this was a discussion that was brought about the fall of last year. There's been some research done that's included in the packet. And so County Attorney Trent, could you just kind of catch us up a little bit on that?
Thank you. It was brought to my attention back in January at our meeting when we were discussing the working groups that Ms. Gonzalez's office did locate back in the archives from the 90s. In motion minutes where a resolution was adopted forming the EAC, the Environmental Advisory Committee. In addition, I included in your packet from Laramie, they adopted ordinances and were amending them from the date of 93 through ordinances and duties and responsibilities. I did speak with City Manager Janine Jordan. It's probably time that we do an agreement and kind of update it, what our understanding, if any, would charge. So this would be one of the tasks for one of the working groups of intergovernmental, probably, to discuss if you want to change anything and what that would look like. We can do, we don't need another layer of government, but just an agreement. This is what you would want. They have under the statute a joint agreement between the city and the county. And we could revise that just to make sure that we're adopting whatever you would like to see and pass with that committee.
Any questions, commissioners, for County Attorney? Okay, thanks. I put it on the list. And, this might be one that we can get done early and get a big win right there in the intergovernmental group or whoever. Item 26, make appointment to the Albany County Historic Preservation Board. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I know this is really controversial, but I move to appoint Eric Sandine to the Albany County Historic Preservation Board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for alerting Mr. Sandine. And Jackie, I think I should have probably put the letter at 26A instead of 27A for Ryan Kaiser. So can we do that? I hope that's not an issue. So I'll just read it to the record. And dear esteemed commissioners, it is with bittersweet feelings that I inform you that my family and I will be relocating to Grand Junction, Colorado at the end of the month. This was a tough decision that I did not make lightly. I will do my absolute best to adequately prepare an effective handover prior to my departure. I have started making plans with State Regional Supervisor Melanie Pierce to ensure this transition is as smooth as possible. In my final weeks as nurse manager, I can assure you that I will keep the commission updated with all pertinent public health information, including current and future plans to combat COVID-19 in Albany County. I hold the county in high regard, and I will be leaving with feelings of gratitude. Despite facing extraordinary challenges throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, I am truly thankful to have had this job experience that has surely contributed to my growth as a professional, as a nurse, and as a leader. I give my sincere thanks for the opportunity to serve as county nurse manager. In preparation of hiring my replacement, the state is requesting permission from the county to fill my position once it is vacant. If you agree to fulfill this request, I would very much appreciate if you could provide me with your written approval so that I can send it to the state. Warm regards, Ryan Kaiser, County Nurse Manager.
What a well-written letter. Very nice letter.
Yeah. 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 And what a loss. Yeah. Can we just acknowledge that we received the letters and get that process? It's in.
You want to make a motion to it.
Okay.
I move that we acknowledge the letter of resignation from Ryan Kaiser, the public health nurse manager, and authorize the clerk to notify the state. I guess, are we authorizing the state?
We're authorizing the state to fill the
position. Authorize the state to advertise.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second, sorry.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 27, approve payroll and vouchers for February 2021. I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve payroll and vouchers for February 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no business before this body, I move to adjourn the Albany County Commission February 16th, 2021 meeting at 12:24. thank you all. I appreciate it. And thank you all for being with us on the internet. We'll do this every meeting going forward. And thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.